Hello, and welcome to accesso's ongoing learning series program. Today's webinar will discuss accesso Siriusware's newest development in versions 4802 and 4803. My name is Luis Aguila, and I'm the Director of Product Management here at accesso Siriusware. I've been with accesso for almost 8 years and was once a client of the solution as well for 5 years. One thing I've learned through the years is the immediate benefit there is to helping the operator at the point of sale with fast ways to perform their sales and the ability to give them all the information they need quickly. Today, we will be showcasing many advancements in this area as we continue to evolve our sales application and also e-commerce as well. So before we get started, a few housekeeping items. You may have already noticed that your voices are muted. They will remain muted throughout the session. However, you will be able to type questions to the moderator throughout the webinar. Then at the end of the session, we will do a Q&A based on your typed questions. All right, let's get started. At accesso, we believe that technology has the power to redefine the guest experience. Everything we do starts with thinking about the guest experience first, and that allows us to help simplify operations, improve guest satisfaction, and drive growth for our clients. Accesso has a suite of solutions that service ticketing and data management, from queuing products to ticketing and point-of-sale software, distribution channels to marketing and personalization of the guest experience. Our solutions help solve problems and enhance the guest experience at every touch point during the journey. Our approach is to let our clients focus on what they do best, provide outstanding experiences for their guests, while we support those efforts by providing exceptional technology. We think about these solutions in 4 categories. The first is accesso LoQueue, which provides virtual queuing solutions to attractions around the globe. The second category is ticketing. This includes accesso Siriusware, which is a robust point-of-sale solution that we will be focusing our attention to today. It also includes our accesso ShowWare box office solution, and finally, our accesso Passport e-commerce platform. Our third category is distribution. A little over a year ago, we acquired a company called Ingresso, which is a tool venues can use for global distribution of tickets and vouchers. And finally, our newest product, the Experience Engine, helps marketers utilize guest data to deliver more personalized interactions and offers before, during, and after the guest experience. Together, they have become the accesso ecosystem, going far beyond what a single unit can ever accomplish and continue to complement one another. Accesso serves many core markets, from theme parks to performing arts, zoos to festivals. Our products and services support attractions around the globe. Whether it be food and beverage point of sale, virtual line reservations, ticketing, or guest management, our solutions help streamline and simplify operations for a wide variety of venues. To accomplish this, accesso focuses on research and development, a major point of differentiation for our products. In 2018, accesso was able to invest over $29 million directly back into R&D across its platforms. Honestly, that's the equivalent to some of our competitors' entire annual revenues. We invest heavily in our products because our industry demands it, because our clients benefit from it, and because it makes a positive difference in the guest experience. Innovation is core to our business and our partnerships, and it's part of our commitment to our clients that our software continue to evolve to meet new demands. Our accesso software solution offers a wide variety of powerful features for your venue, and today we will talk about some exciting new features in our solution. As this is a mid-year update, we will be covering the 2 versions that we have worked on in the first half of this year. 4802, which was released in March, and 4803, which is being released at the end of this month. Between these releases, our areas of focus were on e-commerce, food and beverage, retail, and ski, where we either updated existing functionality or added all new features to our applications. You will notice in the sales enhancements that there is a strong focus on giving operators more functionality and quicker access to information when they need it. Let's begin with a big change in e-commerce. Starting with 4803, we are introducing an all-new header design that will introduce a fresh new look to your site with a wealth of new features available to your purchasers. An item tree dropdown is available so users can easily move around the site without having to always navigate back to the main page. A mini cart to see everything in your cart right away from the header, and the ability to go right to checkout with one click. And of course, this new header is mobile friendly and will adjust accordingly based on screen size. Let's take a look. Now, this is a live demo on my test system here. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the new header design at the top. So you'll notice here that there's some nice visually attractive icons. The first one is shop. And the way that this works is that this pulls all of the main item trees that item tree folders that you have in your top node, and we present them right up here automatically. Then we have account. And as you can see, you could quickly log into your account, and you could also create a new account. Then we have renew, gift card reload, WTP reload. These are just links to the existing pages that we already have, but these are customizable. So for example, if you don't have WTP reload, these can be removed, or if you don't use gift cards, it could be removed. Whatever the case may be, these are customizable. Then we have what we call our mini cart, and this can actually show horizontally or vertically. And lastly, we have that direct to checkout button there. So let's add some things to our cart, so that way we can see how our mini cart populates. In my example here, I'm just gonna add a couple of adult tickets and a couple of senior tickets. I will add those to the cart. And you'll notice that the header originally said that there was 0 in the cart, and now there are 4. When I hover over that, you'll notice then that it shows me the items that I have in there, if there was any discounts applied. It also shows me this very nice order summary, where it gives me the total, any discounts, the subtotal, and the tax. I could click on view cart, which then takes me to the cart, or I could just click on checkout, and that'll take me directly to checkout. So now let's go somewhere else on the site. I could just click on shop, and I could maybe go to souvenirs. That'll take me right to the souvenirs folder, where I could go ahead and add another item, like maybe a poster. As soon as I do that, then now that'll update from 4 to 5, as now I have a 5th item in my cart. As we reach a 4th one, then we can start using these arrows to move left and right on the items that I have in my cart. So although we're just going to show the first 4 there, you could always see the rest. And if you want to get more detail, you could always click on view cart to take you back to the cart. Over here in account, I could quickly log in. And the header now will show me some additional information based on me being logged in. At the top, you'll notice that now we switch over to showing some real-time information about this particular guest. In my case, it's showing my name, my pass number, the type of pass that I have, and when it expires. Those labels are, of course, customizable based on your needs. I can also log out, and I can click on my name, which then takes me to my guest details, where I can hit edit, upload a photo, or just continue navigating through the site. You also notice here that it says, hello, Louis, just a nice little addition that we did to the header. Once I click on that, it'll take me back into this guest details page. So this header is part of our 4803 release. This will take any of the theming and elements that you already have. So for example, my theme has this blue color, but your theme would have a different color palette, and it'll automatically take that as part of the e-commerce page update that we do for you. If you have very customized pages, then we have the option to turn off the new header, so then that way you can use any customized header that you already have from us. Also in e-commerce, we introduced a new option for clients using the One Risk Liability Waiver to have the waiver pop up prior to the guest reaching the checkout page. This could be helpful if you have noticed that guests are forgetting to sign the waiver after completing checkout. In Sys Manager, you will notice 2 new settings on the liability form when the external liability box is checked. A before and after option that you'll see here in this dropdown. Selecting before will show the One Risk form before you complete the purchase. This form is shown after you have associated a guest to an item in the cart that requires a liability form. Selecting the after option would be the current behavior, where the One Risk form is shown after checkout is completed. There is also a checkbox to require the form to be filled out before completing checkout in e-commerce. This prevents the user from hitting the complete purchase button at checkout until all one risk liability forms have been signed. So here's a great thing about these options, in that these are per form and they're not system-wide settings. So they should give you some great flexibility on how this is used. Lastly, the default is after. So that way, when you update, the existing behavior that you currently have doesn't change, but if you like to change it to the new behavior, you would open up the liability form that you want to change, select before, and check that box if you want it to be required before they complete that purchase. Moving over to F&B, in 4802 and 4803, we have addressed some of the main feature requests that we have received. We added additional capability to table recall, where you can now set a custom SQL statement to fine-tune which tables are recalled. Previously, this was hard-coded and it was not possible to change. In addition, you can now add labels and carriage returns to the table buttons when using auto recall or table recall. This cleans up the buttons and adds the information your servers need at a glance. Next, we added an all-new hold and fire feature, which lets servers add the entire order to the sale, but selectively choose which items to fire or send to the remote printers. I'll be demonstrating this in a moment. We also added a new INI setting to increase the width of the scroll bar, so that way in touchscreen environments, the servers can see the entire check and be able to navigate through the check easily with the increased width of the scroll bar. And lastly, we added additional information into the table split dialog to include the modifiers and the prices, so that way your servers do not need to leave the screen when splitting the table. I'll be demonstrating this as well. Okay, so I'll go ahead and log into our F&B environment here. So the first thing that I wanted to show is the formatting of the table buttons. In the past, the table buttons that we had, you weren't able to format those. So the information shown on those table buttons, it is how it is. And sometimes it was a little hard to see exactly what you needed to see at a glance. So I'm going to show this in two different ways. In auto recall, essentially this is the old way, where everything's just kind of shown on a single line, kind of hard to read what's going on here. So for example, what does number 6 represent? And what does that time and date represent? So now, if I go up here to table recall, we can see the new format. As you can see, this is much cleaner, much easier to see what's going on. And this is completely customizable by you with some new INI settings that we have introduced. You'll also notice that we have 3 different colors as well. In the past, we only had the ability to do 2 colors. Now we have a third. And this is due to our hold and fire feature, which I'll be showing in just a second. The second enhancement that we did is having the ability to set the recall logic for table recall. Now, what I mean by that is up here. So if I do a lookup dining header and I just hit OK, for example, it's going to show me a certain set of tables. In the past, this was hard-coded, and you were not able to actually change what this was. We can now change this through an INI setting. And you could set exactly what information and tables you want to show when you're using table recall. So for example, this could be helpful at the bar, where maybe at the bar they want to see all of the tables or all of the tabs that are open using table recall, and not just the tabs for the currently logged in bartender, which in that case you would use auto recall. So what this does, it gives you a lot of flexibility into how tables are recalled, and you essentially have 2 different options as to how those work. Our next enhancement is hold and fire. This one we're particularly excited about because it was a great deal of work to add this into the system. We spent a lot of time on designing this, working with our clients, and figuring out the best way to do this. And we're pretty excited to show this off. Now, this was introduced in 4802, so if you update to 4803, you'll see the same functionality that's in there. So let's start a new table. And I'm just going to say that there are 2 guests. And let's go ahead and add some drinks. And let's also add a soup and a soup. Now you'll notice here that I am using course numbers. This is of course an option that you can do. So what I'm gonna do is set my drinks to course 1, just as an example here, and my soups as course 2. Now we have this new fire button that you'll see here with a nice flame. So I'll go ahead and select that, and we have this brand new dialog pop up. Now the whole purpose of this dialog is so that way you can choose what you want to send to the remote printers when you need it to be sent. In the past, we only had the ability to hit order, and that would send everything to all remote printers all at once. So in this case, what I want to do is I just want to get the drinks in right now. I don't want to do the soup just yet. So what I could do is select those first couple drinks, and I can hit fire selected. I can also do it a different way. I could just hit select course. As you can see, this will show me only the course numbers that are available at the moment, and everything's grayed out. Everything else is grayed out. So let's hit course 1. You'll see that those are selected for me. I'll hit fire selected, off it goes. So now the bar just got a receipt printed out. They know that they need to make those drinks. Okay, so I deliver those drinks. I also now got their order for what they want to eat as their entrees. So you'll notice here that now I have this orange color. This orange color is representing that I have an order in and something has been fired, but I have not fired everything in the order just yet. This color is customizable using an INI setting as well. So let's go back to that table 8. As you can see, there is an icon that indicates what has been sent, and then anything that doesn't have the icon means it hasn't been sent yet. So at this point now, they have told me what they'd like to eat as far as their courses go. So let's go ahead and add on a couple courses, and you'll see now that that is course 3. I'll do a lasagna. Great, so I have those in. In addition, they also said that they want another round of drinks. No problem, let's give them another round of drinks. Now I go back to fire. You'll notice here that it's showing me how many have been sent and how many I have in total. So now I want to go ahead and send off the first 2. So I want to do those first 2 drinks again, and I want to get the soups in. I don't want to do their entrees just yet. They're not ready for those entrees. I don't want to fire this because I don't want that food to get cold or to be done too early in the process. No problem. I'll hit fire selected, logs me out, and then I could come back in. So as you can see, it's flexible in how the servers are sending items to the printers and how they're firing them off. They could use the courses, they could select the table or the items individually, and I can also just hit select all as well. If I want to send everything off, I can do that by just hitting select all, hitting fire selected, and that'll send everything off, and now that icon will show up for all those items. At this point, once everything has been ordered and sent, then payment continues as it always has. Nothing has changed there. This is really just a portion of when items are being ordered and sent off to those remote printers. So our next enhancement that I wanted to show is that wider scroll bar. So what I'm going to do is pull up table 25. Table 25 has quite a bit going on in it. So we got some drinks, lots of entrees, lots of things going on. And you'll notice here then, this scroll bar is much wider than the scroll bar than we had. This is also an INI setting, so you could set exactly what width you want. But as you can imagine, in a touchscreen environment, you want this to be wide, so that way it's really easy to hit and move it up and down, so that way I could quickly see what's going on with this table, if I need to make any changes or whatever the case may be. Our last enhancement that we've done is an enhancement with table splits. So I'm going to pull up a different table here, and I'm going to hit table split. Now you'll notice here everything has been fired. They're good to go. They want to pay, and of course now they say they want to split the table. Okay, they want some split checks. Cool, let's do that. So right now I'll hit 2 checks, and then this is the same screen that we've always had, but there's some additions in here. First of all, there's prices showing in here. Second, we have these hide modifier checkboxes. We have an INI to set what the default is. So you could have this checked or unchecked, that's up to you. But if I uncheck it, you'll notice then it pops out all the modifiers for me, and it even shows me prices for those modifiers if there's prices on them. This is really nice because in this case, I have two New York strips. They're both identical. Maybe I really want to make sure that the right person gets the right steak. So in this case, I could show my modifiers, and then I could quickly see here which one goes to which. So in this case, this person got that strip, and they also got the Pinot Grigio, and now I could complete this table split. So showing more information right up here without having to go back and forth and see what I did, as you could see, will speed up the process quite a bit. Next up is retail, where we have added a new dynamic pricing rule condition for matrix items. This rule is designed to take into account attributes such as size or color and then price based on that. This rule fires regardless of how the item is added, either by scanning, through the item tree, or inventory lookup. You can create rules that either set the price or they set a discount. And this is also e-commerce friendly, where the purchaser would select both attributes and the pages will then show the price based on their selection. The new rule is really flexible in how it's used, and it can of course be combined with other conditions that we already have, like date, time, sales point, and more. So let's check out some quick examples. So as you can see here, we can have conditions that are based on any of the matrix attributes that you have. In my example here, it's color and size. You may have some other attributes that you're using. Those are all okay. And you'll notice the way that these conditions work are very similar to our other conditions, like if sales point or if date. So it could be as basic as if matrix is blue. So then that way we could set something, we could set a price based on it just being blue. We could get more complicated and say if it's blue and it's also extra, extra large, or we can say it's blue but it's not yellow. Or we could be a little bit more flexible and say if it's blue or black. Now the way this works is that you would combine these conditions then with existing functions that we have. So the two functions that would work for this would be set price and then discount. So the way that this will work then is that you would say if it's blue, then go ahead and set the price to $5, for example. Or maybe if it's blue and extra, extra large, do a discount for 10% off because it's on clearance or we want to move that inventory. So let's check out a little demo of how this works. So I'm going to first show at the point of sale. And this, I'm just using my retail point of sale. And I also want to show in Sys Manager what these rules look like that I'm going to be showing as an example. So as you can see, the way I set up my rule here is that if it's matrix large, then set the price to 47. If it's extra large, set it to 49. If it's large and surf print, I'm going to set that to 55 because maybe that's a limited edition. And then finally, if it's red, I'm going to do a retail discount of 50% off because that's on clearance, they're not selling, and I really want to move them. So you can be really flexible in how you're setting up these rules. This rule then is linked to my item, but of course, as you know, we can have many different ways of doing this, maybe by using sub rules, and so then that way you don't have to be creating rules for every single item. We have ways to create these in a more global way. So going now back to our point of sale, then I'm going to show these through inventory lookup, so then that way you could see these rules firing in real time. So my rule in my particular example, I have it set to my Quicksilver shirt. So I'm going to do a lookup here. There's my Quicksilver shirt, and the base price in this case is 45. So of course the system recognizes that there's some matrix attributes that I have to choose from. So let's do the first one, which would be black small. So in this case, I'm going to hit OK on that. And did something wrong. Let's try that again. Oh no, there it is. Okay, so black small, that is 45. So that's our base price. Great. Now let's check out a different one where I actually have a rule set. So I'm going to do a black large now. Black large is now 47. And that's all due to the dynamic pricing rule firing off there. If I now do our surf print, so I'm going to do surf print large, then in that case it's 55. My last example now is anything that's red. So it doesn't really matter what the size is. What matters is that it's red. Great. So I'm going to select red medium. You'll notice that the price is 45, and the reason for that is because those discount macros only fire when it's added to the sale. So I'll go ahead and add it to the sale. You'll notice now that the base price is 45. My discount is $22, and that's because there is a clearance special that was added. Last thing I want to show now is in e-commerce. So let's go ahead and go to our souvenirs. And this works a little bit differently because in e-commerce, you would have to select which matrix attributes you would want to purchase. So in this case now, I will do a black, and as you can see, the base price is 45. I'll do a black large, and it works very similarly where the dynamic pricing rule then will fire and it will change that price to 47. So normally then what you would do is on the item description, you would kind of show your different pricing for that item. So in that way, there's not much of a surprise when you're changing matrix attributes and the prices are changing. You would list out the prices for medium, large, or whatever special pricing you have. Okay, also in retail, we added a new feature for retail, which is the ability to clone an item that's already added to the sale. So we added clone last year, but at the time, this couldn't be used with retail items, but now it can. The intention is to use this clone functionality with the invoice cart rules. So then that way you could bring over any matrix attributes when it's first selected, you hit clone, and then you create a clone of that. So for example, it could be a buy one, get one half off. So what you would do is select the Roxy Women's light blue medium, you would hit clone, and then the invoice cart rules would then discount that second one to 50% off. Next up, and we're very excited about this one, is the ability to sign a OneRisk form at the point of sale using a connected touchscreen. So right here in this screenshot, this is what the operator would see. When you're on the liability form tab, we added a new button, sign OneRisk waiver. Once that is selected, we have a new pop-up that says you want to open up in the secondary display. That then is shown to your guests. And if you have a touchscreen hooked up as your secondary monitor, then they will have that show up and they could go through the process of signing that waiver right there on the spot. So as you can imagine, this could be helpful for your summer operations or your attractions where paper forms are currently used, or maybe you're using self-entry and the line is very long, but this could be used as an alternate way to sign liability waivers. It could also be used if the guests do not sign that form online or if they need to sign on the spot as they arrive. And this could, of course, reduce any paper forms that you have, and it could align your process completely. So then that way you're doing OneRisk online and you're doing OneRisk on site at the point of sale. So let's check this out. So I'm going to pull up my ticketing point of sale, and I'm also going to pull up my secondary screen. So I'm just using a virtual secondary screen here. But the way that this would work is you would have a second monitor hooked up to your point of sale hardware. And then that way, this functionality would work. Now, the secondary screen by default is going to show any information that I add to the sale. So for example, if I add the zip line, then immediately it shows to the guest that zip line was added, how much it is, and what the total due is. This secondary screen could be themed based on your needs. It's just a small amount of professional services hours for us to be able to do this, but we've had many clients with great success having this information shown right to the guest, so that way there's a lot less question as to why something costs a certain amount or what has been added to the sale. So in this case, let's go ahead and set a guest, which is going to be me. And then I'm going to go to liability forms because I need to collect a liability form. And I'm going to hit sign OneRisk waiver. Once I hit that, it's going to say, do you want to show that on the secondary display? I hit yes. And then now on my secondary display, it shows the full waiver. So at this point now, I can hit next. Anything that is shown in one wrist that you have configured would show. And then right there on the touchscreen, I would do my signature, go through the various pages, and then I would scroll using the touchscreen. And then finally, I would sign it, and then I would be completed. At this point now, we know that it was signed, and the operator will get a message indicating that it was actually signed. If for whatever reason it was canceled through the process, the operator would also get a message saying that it was canceled. So at this point, I would hit OK. You'll notice that it says accepted pending. And then once I complete this sale, then the one wrist form will be officially signed. Next up in 4803, we have added the ability to quickly renew a member while you have them looked up. So again, we spent a lot of time on the design side here, and we're coming up with the fastest approach for an operator to service the guests that they are working with and give the operator all the information they need. This new feature can be used for early auto renewal payoffs, renewing to the same level, upgrading or downgrading, and any of the level change rules that you have configured will also be applied when the new membership is added to the sale. So let's go ahead and check that out. So for now, I'm just going to close off my secondary screen, and let's look at sales full screen mode here. So I have a couple examples here that I wanted to show. So the whole point of this is, let's just say that you're working at a call center, or maybe you're working at a desk and you have a member standing right in front of you, right? So maybe you're servicing that member and you're looking up their guest record, maybe you're making some changes to it, whatever the case may be. In my example here, maybe I'm looking up this particular person and I go to past inquiry and I notice that they expire pretty soon, right? Now, you may have a promotion, or maybe there's a membership push, or maybe there's something going on where you're trying to get these members to renew. So how do we make this easier and faster? What we've added is a renew button down here on the bottom left. So if I hit renew, this shows an all new dialog that very simply shows me what can they renew to. Now, it could be a same level renewal, it could be an upgrade, or it could be a downgrade. So it really depends on what you have configured. In addition, it shows me if there's a payment plan available, or if auto renew available. So this is really great, because now what I can do is I could be on the phone with this particular member and I can say, hey, I noticed that you're expiring soon. Maybe I can interest you in a renewal because we're having a promotion. So once you bring this up, you could say, hey, so we could do a family membership, and we also have payment plans available. So then that way I could set you up in a payment plan, and that way this could be a little bit more affordable. So really what we're trying to do here is show as much information as we can, so then that way they could select the right one. So maybe they want to do the family. So I'll hit OK on that. And now any modifiers or sales action macros that are present for that particular item then are going to show. So in this case, I need to select how many adults, children, and seniors. And once I do that, if I have auto renew available, then it's going to ask me if I want to auto renew. I'm going to say no. And then that's it. It was added to the sale. And I could see from the sale here then that everything is now pre-configured for me. So it added the guests, it validated it, everything is done, ready to roll. At this point now, I can finalize it, or I could set them up on a payment plan, depending on what they'd like to do. So as you can imagine, this saves quite a bit of steps than the way that we had in the past. A different way that you can actually look up this member is actually through ticket inquiry. Maybe you have their actual membership card right there in front of you and you just want to scan that in. Great. So let's pretend that I just scanned that membership card in. I hit OK, and now it presents our past information screen that we've always had. But at the bottom, we have a new button called Renew. So if I hit Renew, I get the same screen pop up, and this will now show me any of the options that are available for that particular membership level. So same thing, I could select which one I want to go with, and any of those same options would be presented. Another feature that we added, and I'm going to do the same thing for this member. I'm going to scan them in and look them up. I'm going to hit Renew. But in this case now, this particular member they don't expire for a while. Let's actually check that out real quick here. So they expire later on next year, as you can see here, March 30th. So in this case, this is an early renewal. Now, my rules, I have set that if they renew early, they could upgrade or same level renewal, they will get a prorated discount, because since they're renewing early, we're gonna go ahead and give them a discount because they are upgrading their membership. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm gonna add the family, and same thing, it's gonna present any of my sales action macros or modifiers. And then once I select those, then it's gonna add it to the sale. I'll hit no. But you'll notice now that my price, instead of being 200, is 100. The reason for that is because I have my level change rules set that depending on when they are upgrading their membership, we are going to provide a discount based on a prorated amount, which is great. The last scenario here is I'm going to do a lookup on Megan. And in this case, then I'll do renew. And you'll notice something different up here at the top. So we have a new option here that says pay dual auto renew now. What this means is that this particular member was already set up for auto renewal, and it was going to auto renew July 31st. But I have them on the line, and maybe I have a particular promotion or I have something going on, and I want to essentially process that auto renewal right now. So that way they're not gonna wait until July 31st. We're gonna process the auto renewal right now, and they're gonna renew then until 2021. So what I could do then is process that right now in this moment. I could select that, hit OK, and then at this point then it's gonna come up with any of the modifiers. And then lastly, it's gonna come up with my finalized dialog, because I'm gonna process that auto renewal now. I'm not going to wait until July. And I can, of course, use the card on file that I already have. So then that way that gets processed immediately. So as you can see, lots of functionality we added there to expedite the process there for operators to be able to renew those members. Okay, moving on to ski enhancements. So in 4803, there are two new features that we added for this season that we hope are going to prove to be very helpful in your operations. The first is for rental shops to be notified when custom ski bindings need to be set. And the second is some new configuration that we have to set up rental card programs. Starting with the rental tech notifications. Sometimes at the rental shop, you may have customers where the BYS system cannot auto-assign DIN values, such as when there's a large shoe size selected in self-entry. Actually, one of our clients informed us that about 10% of their rental customers cannot utilize the auto system, and they need to have a tech set the bindings manually. When this occurs, the rental shop wants the customer to be directed to a different custom fit counter with a special receipt. So that's not a problem. We could do that right now with existing functionality. But what would be really great is if the tech was alerted that this customer was on their way. So this new enhancement enables the ability for rental shops to alert the techs working at the custom fit area of the shop with a printed receipt that a custom ski will need to be set. This allows the tech to have the equipment ready by the time the customer arrives at the custom fit counter, potentially resulting in less wait time for the customer. So this is done through a setting in taxation that, when combined with the fact that both heel and toe values are empty, will automatically print that receipt, so that way the tech is alerted. So as for rental cards, we added some additional functionality to rental package configuration to have the ability to set up rental card programs. So as you can see here, we have a new checkbox at the bottom, which is enable rental card restrictions. Then we have a bunch of options on how you can configure this. The first one is how many are allowed per rental form. So what we're doing here is we're keeping track of how many rentals are done, and then we either allow or not allow any more rentals to be completed using that same rental form. We also have start and end dates, so in that way you can have particular programs that start and end on those dates, and they're not allowed outside of those dates. Same thing with the day of week. Or you could also have start and end times. So in that way, maybe you have a morning rental card program, And that particular one is potentially more expensive or less expensive depending on your needs, or you could do an afternoon one. So as you can see here, lots of flexibility on how you could set up these rental car programs. So how does this work? So in TechStation then, these get, of course, scanned, and then any of the assets, skis, snowboards, anything else, get added to that rental card, to that rental form, and then off they go. As each of those gets scanned each day, we're keeping track of what's going on with those. So in this example, it was a rental card program that was good for 3 rentals. So after the end of those 3, then you'll notice then that in TechStation, it very clearly shows that it exceeds the maximum allowed for that particular one. This could also be, though, it could be outside of the day of week, or it could be outside of the time frame. And in that case, then we'll show a different message to the tech as to why they cannot rent for that particular rental form. So I hope these version 4 enhancements will be helpful for you all. But before we end, I wanted to give a brief update on where we are with version 5. So we have been very hard at work with literally 100% of our efforts dedicated to completing version 5 this year. So that includes Siriusware control, but there's also a large number of changes that needed to be made to sales, e-commerce, reporting, and our other applications. So what I wanted to do is run through the modules and give you an update on where we are. So let's start with ticketing. So as you can see, ticketing makes up quite a bit of our core components that we have in the system. And of course, this doesn't cover all of them. But this is completed in version 5, and we have clients that are actively using this as we speak. You'll also notice at the bottom there, there's all new reports, and you're going to see this across the different modules. We have spent a lot of time on reports, where we have looked at the reports that we had in Report Manager and Reporting Services. We've combined reports, we've added lots of new features and functionality to how you see those reports. And we've done that for each and every one of our modules and each and every one of our reports that we had in the past. In addition, passes and memberships, that's also completed. So we got in-house cards, benefits, payment plans, some reports in there as well. For retail, this is one of our most recent completions that we have, and all new ways to do purchase orders, receiving reports, and quick counts. As you can see there, I'm very excited about all new reports because it's in there twice. For rentals, so we are doing some work right now on TechStation, Quick Tech. We also have all the configuration on how rentals is done in Control. We have refreshed all of that to how we had it in Sys Manager. And then the next part is what's currently in development. So as we speak right now, Ski School is what's in development. So what that means is then private and group instruction. We've added a lot of enhanced capability to tags and attributes. We have a brand new, amazing looking scheduler. And of course, then lots of reports that are tied into that. And then the other item that is currently in development is instructor payroll, which of course also has all new reports. So as you can see kind of the big picture here, there's quite a bit that has to happen to make these modules what we call complete. This is thousands of hours of work in order to get these modules completed, but as you can see here, we're very nearing the finish line. So speaking of version 5, I am sure you would love to see some of our latest work in these modules, because if I were you, that would be my question. So I do have some good news. We have a sneak peek webinar coming next month, where we're going to be doing live demos of Control, so you can see some of the completed work that we have done, and also some of the features that are literally fresh out of development. They're still in testing, but we can at least show you what it is that we're working on and what's coming soon. So keep a lookout in your email for a version 5 webinar invite, and please join us August 15th to be one of the first to see the features we are most excited about in version 5. And I'm sure you probably want to see even more new features. So I wasn't able to show everything that we completed in version 4, but if you join us in seminar at our client seminar in Denver, September 15th through the 20th, we're going to be showing off more version 4 new features, but then there's also going to be quite a bit of version 5 content. So we're going to have a lot of demos, we're going to have classes, and we're going to have a lot of discussion surrounding version 5 and what we're doing. And that includes also what those migration plans look like for our existing clients. So one thing that I did forget to mention is for version 5, all of our new clients that are signing with us for this year, they are all starting on version 5. That's how confident we are in that product there. And then for our existing clients, we're working on what those migration plans look like. And then at seminar this year, we are going to be talking about what those migration plans look like. So then that way you're very prepared coming next year on being able to migrate. So at this time, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions. As a reminder, you could type your questions into the GoToWebinar panel. And Lynette, do we have any questions that have been submitted?
Thank you, Louis. We do have quite a few questions. Let's see here. Our first one is, are the features you just showed that are in version 4 also a part of the version 5 update?
Yeah, so that is a good question. So everything that I showed here in version 5 is also, or sorry, in version 4 is also in version 5. So as we've been doing this work, we've been checking in the code into both of those versions. What you're going to start seeing though is there's going to be a little bit less version 4 enhancements, and really any new major features and enhancements will only be done in version 5. As you can imagine, it's a little bit difficult to maintain these different versions, but we wanted to do a pretty big push on version 4 enhancements, as you could see here, but especially starting next year, all the big new features and initiatives that we'll be working on will only be in version 5.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Our next question is, when will 4803 be released?
So 4803 right now is currently going through regression testing, and we are planning to release that near the end of this month. So at that point, we'll be sending out our update email, and then that update will be available on the portal for you.
Perfect, thank you. The next question is, will the new e-commerce header be available to everyone?
It will be. So if you're using the Siriusware e-commerce pages and you update to 4803, as part of the update process, you will be getting the new header. Like I mentioned earlier, if you do not want the new header due to having very customized pages or another reason, then we can disable the new header and only show the old header like you had in the past.
Great. And the next question we have is, can the account hold the whole family, or does each member of the family have unique logins?
So we didn't change that capability. So the same way that we did logins in the past remains the same. So each person can have their own logins, but we of course then have the ability to link that as a family. And that link is done through the purchase process, either in e-commerce or in sales.
Perfect. And how does adding a guest to an item work with the new cart functionality?
I think, okay, so it remains the same. So you would add the guest through the cart, and you could of course then see the cart at checkout. So if you remember at checkout, you still have the cart at the very top, so the guest could be added through there. So in the example of maybe you added 2 passes to the sale, and then you just click on checkout, right? So that way you just go directly to checkout. We still show the cart at the very top, and right there then you could add the guest to those particular pass or membership items. So what's nice about that then is that it does skip a couple steps there, and it takes them directly to checkout. They put their guests in for those past items, and then they could check out right there on the same page.
Perfect, thank you for that. And then I think we have time for a couple more. On the secondary display, if you have a guest assigned to the item, will the guest information automatically be filled in?
Yes, and I'm going to be super nice and show that to you. So if we go back to my ticketing, let's get out of all this here. Oops, okay, so I actually closed it, I'm sorry. But yes, it does show that information. Let me see if I could quickly open this back up for you. And that's actually one of the great features about that secondary display is being able to show that information before you finish that sale. So then that way, the way that we've seen our clients use this is that they will type in the information about that particular person, and then they will tell the guest, can you please verify this information on the screen in front of you? More often than not, they say, oh, sorry, that's my old address, or whatever the case may be. So let's do that zip line one more time. And you'll notice here that it just shows the zip line. I'm going to set the guests. I'm not going to deal with the liability form at this moment. So let's go ahead and save that. And you'll notice now that all that information is shown right there in the secondary display. So it's really easy to see if anything's incorrect or needs to be changed. Of course, at this point, then you could go back into guest edit and change any of that information.
Great. And let's see here. I think we have time for one last question. Is it possible to add a group login into the redesigned e-commerce header?
As in one of the options at the very top, yes, it is. Yep, so we can add in, actually, we kind of built it in a way that we can add in additional, so like maybe you're not using gift card reloads, we could swap that out for something else. And really then these are just direct links to pages. We don't anticipate using these for direct links to items, but more so direct links to functional areas of the pages. So that's a great example. We can have a group login up here, click that, and it takes you then to the group login ASPX page.
Great. Well, thank you, Louis, and thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar, What's New in accesso Siriusware. If you have any other questions or would like to learn more about our accesso Siriusware solution, please contact sales@accesso.com. I know that we had a lot of great questions come in, and we will be following up individually to get all those answered for you guys in the next couple days here. And we'll also be sending out the link to this recording within the next day. And on behalf of accesso, Louis, and myself, thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.